Okay, so here we are with another DC Multiverse Mcfarlane Toys unboxing, and this is Green Arrow, Connor Hawke from Green Arrow. What else? For those of you unfamiliar, Connor Hawke was the illegitimate son of Oliver Queen, and he took over the mantle of Green Arrow when Ollie was thought to be dead. I guess technically he was dead, but he came back. Kevin Smith brought him back in his series Quiver, which that was some good comics. I really enjoyed that. Kevin Smith wrote a lot of good comics. I wish he'd write more comics actually, but he's more of a podcaster these days. And honestly, and I say this as a guy who has a lot of respect and admiration and fondness for Kevin Smith. I think podcasting is what he was born to do. He's made some good movies. He's written some great comics, but he's a guy who's good at talking, basically. And as a guy who's also, I like to think, good at talking, I can respect, admire that. But yeah, yeah, around the 1990s, Judah Yates is here. Sup, Judah? Welcome to the show. Good to see you again. I have seen you before, right? I'm pretty sure I have. So it's been a while though. If I have seen, yeah, I've seen Judah before, right? You've been on the show before, right? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, around the time that Connor Hawke first appeared, this was around a time that uh, a lot of DC characters were going. Yeah. See, I knew. A lot of DC characters were going through a state of flux. You might remember a storyline at the time called Death of Superman. And I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't read Death of Superman, but in Death of Superman, Superman dies. Yeah. And that was a really popular story around the same time. Like, coincidentally enough, it was not really planned this way. But around the same time in the Batman comics, they were planning a storyline where Batman was going to get his back broken and be replaced by another character. Azrael was going to take over the identity of Batman. There was a storyline in Green Lantern, inspired by the success of these other two stories, called Emerald Twilight, in which Hal Jordan went insane and destroyed the entire Green Lantern Corps and like became a villain, and then this guy Kyle Rayner wound up becoming the new Green Lantern. There was a storyline in Wonder Woman where she was stripped of her title as Wonder Woman and just had to be plain old Diana for a while and wore this kind of outfit with the leather jacket and the biker shorts and the bicycling shorts, not like motorcycle type biker, but like like the tight fitting longer shorts. And Artemis was carrying the mantle of Wonder Woman for a while. So it was kind of hip to do with the DC characters, to kind of just put them through the ringer. And even if they didn't necessarily get replaced with another character, they'd still see some character with drastic changes. Like Aquaman grew a beard and grew long hair and got his hand eat off by piranha and that sort of thing. So Green Arrow, no exception. So they did a storyline where they put Oliver Queen through the ringer. He was forced to shoot an arrow into his former best friend, Hal Jordan, Parallax, to save the universe. And he had kind of a breakdown for that, went into a monastery and discovered that he had a long lost illegitimate son named Connor Hawke. And Connor became Green Arrow's sidekick for a while, and Ollie was wearing this very same costume. This became Oliver Queen's new Green Arrow costume. So he was wearing that for a while, and Connor, as the sidekick, was also wearing the same costume. And then Oliver was blown up in a helicopter explosion. Superman tried to save him, but since his arm was clamped into a bomb, he would have had to remove Ollie's arm to save him, and Ollie refused to let him do that. And it was supposed to be like kind of an homage to Dark Knight Returns. So yeah, he wound up getting blown up in this helicopter explosion, and Connor Hawke took over as the new Green Arrow. You might notice he has a slightly different, slightly darker skin color than we see on the Caucasian figures in this line a lot, and that's because he was actually of mixed race. I believe that his mother was of mixed race, and she was of Black and Asian parentage. So Tiger Woods was like a really popular guy around this time. This was when Tiger Woods was first becoming big in the golf scene, and I think he was kind of at least somewhat inspired by Tiger Woods as far as that goes. There's the artwork on the back. Nice piece of artwork on the back. He's not wearing the costume, though, that he's wearing in the figure. This is the costume that he wore in the 1990s, and this to me looks like a post New 52 costume for him that I am unfamiliar with, but it is a really nice piece of artwork. So anyway, let's go ahead and open them up. I think I've talked enough about the history of the character, and we're probably going to go over a little bit more of that once I read the trading card, because I'm sure they'll go over some of that. So let's go ahead and get them opened. And this was a Target exclusive. This came out around the same time that Our Man came out. So if you remember me opening up Our Man, then I might have mentioned that at the time, but I only had enough money to get one, so I got Our Man and decided to wait and see if we could get Connor later, and thankfully I was able to get him. So here we have a black figure stand, matte black figure stand with a glossy DC logo on it. Every figure should come with a figure stand, and Mcfarlane's really pretty good about that. And even though it's not on a separate, the same bubble, this time it's on a separate bubble, I was able to get the trading card off pretty well. And we see it's got the same piece of artwork that was on the previous one, on the artwork on the back. And here's what the back looks like. And man, that's a long bio on there. And it reads, Green Arrow, Connor Hawke. Green Arrow, data file, real name, Connor Hawke. Connor Hawke, they really want you to know that's his name, was the son of Green Arrow, Oliver Queen. Although his father did not know of his existence until the two met in the ashram monastery during a dark time in Queen's life, Connor showed a natural aptitude for archery and martial arts, and Queen took him under his wing. When he eventually discovered the truth about their connection, Queen was mistrustful of the young man. Before they could repair their relationship, Queen was killed in an explosion. Connor took up his father's mantle as Green Arrow and even joined the Justice League in his stead. After Oliver Queen returned from the dead, Connor was able to bond with him as a son, and but their relationship remained fragile. So Sean Franklin is here. Hi there, Sean Franklin. And Sean Franklin says, "Did you watch Corbin Maxey? He YouTubers?" No, I haven't ever seen Corbin Maxey. So yeah, I'll try to check that out then if you're recommending it. What is he YouTube about? So I'll try to check him out if you recommend him, because I know that you and I we have a lot of the same circles here on YouTube that we share. So anyway, let's go ahead and get him out of the package. So we got double rubber bands around the torso, as is typical for these. Mcfarlane's been doing a lot of 90s characters lately, and that means he's been doing a lot of characters that were seen in the the Total Justice line from the 1990s. And Connor Hawke here is no exception. He had a rather excellent Total Justice figure that came out around that time. And I remember the thing that I really liked about that figure was actually the bow and arrow that he came with, which had this very ornate dragon design sculpted into it. Sean Franklin says he has alligators. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. That sounds like something I might be interested in checking out. So I'll try to remember to do that. So here we go. And the bow that this Connor Hawke comes with is not the same. As you can see, it's a brown bow with some gold ornate sculpting onto it. And I can't tell if it's supposed to be anything specific. Just some ornate sculpting. It does have to me, this bow has kind of an Asian sort of look to it. Hey, there's my Aunt June, and she says that I hope you are doing well. Well, thanks, Aunt June. That's nice that you're sending me some. I hope you're doing well, also, of course. So always nice to see my Aunt June in the comments. And she always tries to leave a comment on my videos, but she's not always able to catch them live like she is right now. So that's really nice. So he's got a quiver with a bundle of arrows in there. We're going to look at that in just a minute. And I think I just knocked the figure stand, and then one of the figure stands fell to the ground because I got a whole pile of figure stands. So I got the rubber tabs cut. They had the little divots on there like you see that they have now, so it was a little easier to get those than usual. So that's nice. And Connor just came right out of there, and we can get a closer look at him where he's got that sort of darker skin color than like I said, than your average Caucasian Mcfarlane figure. I think they probably could have gone even a little bit darker, even. But I even like the way they did his hair, where it's got this sort of texture to it. So I think they did a good. And the facial features, you can see, that he's got like his various ethnicities kind of blended together in there. You can see some black facial features, some Asian facial features, some Caucasian facial features. It all blends together quite nicely, I think. And I really like the way they did his suit, where you see he's got kind of the flared shoulders on this. And he is a little bit slighter in terms of build than your average Mcfarlane figure. And just to show what I'm talking about, let's have a look at an average Mcfarlane figure in the Riddler. Always got to look at the Riddler, because I always have the Riddler handy. He's one of my favorites. So you can see he's about the same height as the Riddler. And if we compare the arms on these guys, you can see that the Riddler, despite him actually being supposed to be kind of a slighter figure, but this is just a generic body. We see this on a lot of characters, but he's got a little bit more musculature as far as the arm goes, the legs, the thighs, the shins, a little bit thicker. He's got a little bit more weight to him. Honestly, I kind of feel like this is more the build that the Riddler should have. But like I said, Connor's a younger guy. He probably hasn't quite filled out to his full superhero potential yet. But honestly, Green Arrow, I think in general works better as like a leaner guy. So you probably could, and it wouldn't be a bad idea, I think, for Mcfarlane to use some of these parts to make a more Neil Adams-ish Green Arrow. I think that would be cool to have. If I'm able to get one of these at Target, like if I'm able to find these at clearance, I might pick up another one and just do like a more classic Oliver Queen. Speaking of which, first let me put his accessories together so we can see them all together. So here's the bundle of arrows, and you can see it's got like a little almost like a little block that they're stuck in. And Aunt June says, Connor is new to me, but he is cool. Yeah, he's a little bit more of an obscure character. Like, I think even Green Arrow, just in general, is a more obscure superhero. But I mean, he's a little more well known nowadays because of the Arrow television series, which I believe is still on Netflix. If anybody wants to watch that, but yeah, I've always really liked Green Arrow, but he's not quite as well known as, say, Superman or Batman. And Connor, being the son of the original Green Arrow, he's a little bit even more obscure than that. But let's go ahead and get him geared up. We got the quiver on his back. It had a little peg where it pegged into a little hole in the back. And then we can fit the bow into his hand. Unfortunately, he does not seem to come with like a single arrow like the longbow hunter's Green Arrow did. So I don't think I'll be able to get him into any kind of archery pose, since he doesn't really have an arrow to shoot with his bow. But it does have a plastic string on there, which most toy bow and arrows don't have anymore, unless they actually have the arrow molded into the bow. but he's got like little pouches on the sides of his legs, and that's nice. Lots of detail, lots of piping. There's some texture to this suit. You can see he's got lots of pouches and things on his belt, which have lots of details sculpted into him. He's got the buckles on his straps, and this is how this Green Arrow. This is the costume he had in the comics in the '90s. So it's pretty simple: green bodysuit with this kind of uh, brown tabard over it, and the two almost like suspenders straps coming down there. And unfortunately, due to the way that this figure is designed, the straps kind of separate a little bit. So you have to kind of have them posed exactly like that if you want the straps to line up properly. But let's get a shot of the father and son together. So I've got my longbow hunters Green Arrow here. And like I said, when he was teamed up with Connor in the comics, they were both wearing this same costume. But this is the costume that Ollie was wearing in the comics, like right before he would have met Connor. So it's not too anachronistic. You could imagine them both being together in these outfits. I would really like for them to do Green Arrow in the classic Neil Adams costume because that is my favorite. But I do really like the Longbow Hunter's look. I do think that that's a cool costume. And even though technically he's a different character, I still think this is a pretty good Green Arrow figure. Just as far as like characters who have held the name. So let's go ahead and talk about the articulation. So Green Arrow can look up about that far, not really too far. I wish he could have looked up further than that, but whatever. That's what it is. He can look down that far. Tilt his head kind of from side to side. Rotate the head all the way around. Of course, the arms rotate all the way around the shoulders. And he's got a bicep swivel, so the bicep rotates all the way around. Green Arrow, of course, has double jointed elbows. Excellent range of motion on the elbows. The backpack came off, so I'm just going to set that aside for now. So that's good. And he's got the good wrist articulation, so you can move his wrist around however you want to. If he did have an arrow for him to draw back, and I could get him into a good archery pose, you can see what a good archery pose I could get him into. But unfortunately, like I said, does not have an arrow. Aunt June says, I like Green Arrow. Well, that's good because he's a cool character. I like Green Arrow an awful lot myself. So, yeah, my favorite Green Arrow comics was actually the Green Lantern Green Arrow comics of the 1970s. Because, I mean, Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams working together. Like, how can you get better than that? And Neil Adams is just one of my favorite comic book artists in general. Perfection. Love Neil Adams as a comic book artist. And as far as I'm concerned, nobody ever drew Green Arrow better. But one guy that did come close was Mike Grell, who took over as the artist of Green Lantern, Green Arrow after Neil left, and his style only got better as he moved into the '80s, and he did the Longbow Hunters 3-issue prestige format series, which I thought was excellent, and this beautiful artwork, some of the best artwork I've ever seen in a comic book. But as it is, that still was kind of a controversial storyline because of some of the aspects of it were very dark and disturbing. And if you're a fan of Black Canary, he really put her through the ringer. I mean, like, she had a rough time in that book. Oh, it was bad. But the artwork in there was just beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. And then he went on to write the ongoing Green Arrow series after that. But the artwork was, I think it was Ed Hannigan, inked by Dick Giordano. And, those are both great artists, and they did some great work. But, it didn't hold a candle to what Grell did in the miniseries, unfortunately. But, I mean, that's a ridiculously high bar. It's not even fair of me to compare. And then Dan Jurgens, I think, drew Green Arrow for a while. And then I think Chuck Dixon started writing it, and Jim Aparo was doing the art on there for a while. So, and then that was around the time that Connor Hawke was introduced. But yeah, Green Arrow appeared on one episode of Super Friends, only one, much to my chagrin. He was in the Justice League animated series, which was fantastic, and they did a great job with him on that. He's appeared on the Batman cartoon. He was on at least one episode of that. I think he was on two, because he was on the episode where he teamed up with Batman, and he was on the episode with like the full Justice League, I believe. And then he was a recurring character on Batman: The Brave and the Bold, where he was wearing his Silver Age costume, and they did a great job with him on that. So they got a lot of humor out of playing Green Arrow and Batman off of each other, which I thought was fantastic. Comic book wise, once Ollie came back, you had the Kevin Smith series, and then he was followed by writers like Brad Meltzer and Judd Winnick. And Judd Winnick introduced the new Speedy character, which I believe that Mia was a character from the Kevin Smith run, but he was the one who actually, I think, made her into Speedy. And then Green Arrow, he's been a constant presence, I think, ever since the Kevin Smith series brought him back. And he's went through some changes with the New 52, and then he was on Smallville. He was on Smallville, where Justin Hartley played him, and then finally he was on Arrow, where he was played by Stephen Amell. And there was a movie of Green Arrow that was planned at one point, which had a really interesting story to it. At one point, the movie was just going to be called Green Arrow, and at another point, the movie was going to be called Supermax, and then at another point, the movie was going to be called Green Arrow Escape from Supermax. I think originally it was going to be called Supermax, and then they decided to just call it Green Arrow because he was the main character of it. But it was not going to be a typical superhero movie where like you see like the origin of the character. The reason they were going to call it Supermax was because the story was going to be about Green Arrow being framed for a crime that he didn't commit and sentenced to life in prison in the supervillain prison Supermax. And that was going to bring in a lot of villains from all throughout the DC universe. Like I believe Lex Luthor was even going to be a character in it. But so it was a pretty ambitious concept, especially at the time, because this was like in the late 90s, early 2000s, I think they were talking about doing this. So at the time, that was a pretty ambitious concept for any kind of superhero movie. But yeah, to basically do like a Prison Break movie with a superhero as the main character breaking out of a super villain prison, like I thought that was a really cool concept. And yeah, like I probably would have liked to seen a more vanilla Green Arrow movie, honestly. Like that's what I would have expected, but it's wild to me that even at that, especially at that time, that they were like, nowadays if you did that with superhero movies being a dime a dozen, I don't think it would be that big of a deal. But at the time, yeah, that was a pretty daring concept, and I'm not really surprised, unfortunately, that it didn't get made, but I am still saddened that it didn't. I think it would have been an awesome movie. But yeah, there's been rumors about a Green Arrow movie ever since, and I figure it's probably more likely than not at this point. Eventually, we will see a feature film on Green Arrow, since Arrow was such a successful television show. But yeah, all that had to do with, again, the original Green Arrow, Oliver Queen, who, honestly is my favorite Green Arrow, but I do like the Connor Hawke character quite a bit. In addition to being the lead character in the Green Arrow comic for the longest time, I like the entire period from the late 90s on to whenever Kevin Smith took over, which I think was like in the around 2000 or so. Connor Hawke was our Green Arrow, and that was the guy. And like I said, they did a good job with the character. I always liked him, but eventually Ollie was going to come back. That's just all there is to it. So and he was in the Justice League for a while, like it said on the trading card, and I think Grant Morrison did some good work with Connor during that time. Grant actually put a lot of effort into trying to make some of those 90s characters work. And there are a lot of characters that I kind of feel like Grant Morrison did a better job writing them than a lot of the people who were actually writing the series at the time. Like nothing against Ron Mars, who I think is a pretty good writer in his own right, but my most of my affection for Kyle Rayner as a character comes from Grant Morrison's JLA. Most of my affection for this guy, Chuck Dixon, is a great writer, like one of the best, one of my favorite comic book writers. He was certainly like one of the best Batman writers that I've ever read. He was writing Green Arrow at the time. He was doing a good job with the character. He created this character, but it was again, Grant Morrison was the guy who really, I think, putting him in the Justice League really did give Connor a bit more legitimacy as Green Arrow. So yeah, good figure. I'm really happy with how the figure turned out. Oh, we haven't finished talking about the articulation. I got so distracted. So yeah, he's got the cool Mcfarlane torso articulation. Rotates all the way around where the abs meet the hips or the waist. Rotates all the way around where the rib cage meets the abs, and you can pose it however which way you want to. So that's good stuff. Connor can kick up about that far. He's got a great range of motion there, which is good because he is considered to be one of the best martial artists in the DC universe. It's been said that he's the best artist or martial artist in the DC universe, but I don't buy that. I kind of have a hard time thinking that Connor Hawke is a better martial artist than Batman, honestly. And if we're being real, Batman isn't the best martial artist in the DC universe. I would put Richard Dragon above Batman in terms of like pure martial arts skill. I would definitely put Lady Shiva at the very top. To me, Lady Shiva, that's the character I would say would be the greatest martial artist in DC. Like she could beat Batman, she could beat Richard Dragon. Bronze Tiger is another one. Like I kind of feel like my top three would be, and it's debatable. You know, uh, number one would definitely be Lady Shiva. Number two would probably be Bronze Tiger or Richard Dragon. It would be one of those two. Like one of those would be number two, and one of those will be number three. But they're on such a par with each other. It's kind of, and then number four would probably be Batman. I'm willing to give Connor Hawke number five. How about that? I'll say Connor Hawke is the fifth greatest martial artist. Don't at me. You're welcome to your opinion. Like even the great Chuck Dixon, who was the one who wrote that story, I'm going to disagree with him on that, but I respect his opinion. He's willing to think what he's got the right to think whatever he wants to. He's Chuck Dixon. He's a legend as far as I'm concerned. But that's something where I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with you, sir. Yeah. Getting back to the articulation, Connor Hawke, Green Arrow, double jointed knees. That's about the range of motion you get at the knees. He's got that little bit of wobble there, like the Mcfarlane figures tend to have. Doesn't rotate all the way around, but he's got a little bit. No boot cut, even though this is a separate piece of plastic. They could have made it a boot cut. They chose not to. But that's okay because he's got the great Mcfarlane ankle articulation. So it rotates all the way around where the ankle meets the shin, and it rotates all the way around where the ankle meets the foot. And then his foot can point down about that far, point up about that far, and he's got toe articulation just to show off. And I'll point out that I really love the way they did the treads on the boots. Those look fantastic. That gives it some nice verisimilitude to it. I love all the little details on here. He's got the like I said, the pouches on here, little straps, some piping. You can see where he's got like some arm protection on his arms. So even though it's not painted, he's got a wristband here, and you can see how it's got like a little bit of an archery glove thing going on here. And then he's also got like over here like this solid gold archery guard. So really the bow should probably go in this hand. I just put it in the right hand because I'm used to putting weapons in the right hand just out of habit. Really, it should go in the left, shouldn't it? He'd be pulling back with his right hand. So that's really the way it should be going. So let's go ahead and get him back in that archery pose, going this way. And again, if I had an arrow with him, I think that would look really good. Let's borrow Ollie's arrow. And I believe it's a little short. And it did get a little bent up when it was in his quiver. But for now, just so we can try to get a little bit of a look. If I can get it to stick in between his fingers, it seems a little wide. But I'll just hold it in his hand. I think that'll be fine. If I can get it at such an angle where I can actually grip it. But you see how that works pretty well? It'd work a lot better if the arrow wasn't kind of bent up. I'm gonna put it back into Ollie's quiver now. It got a little bent up when I had it in there because I had it kind of pinched in between the bundle of arrows and the side of the quiver because I didn't want to lose it. I'm always losing single arrows like that, which is probably why they didn't bother to give Connor his own. But yeah, they look good together, father and son, don't they? And it really makes me wish that I'd managed to get the speedy Red Arrow Arsenal, whatever they called him in the Teen Titans line, so that way I could have all three of them together. So I'm gonna have to try to get Arsenal, Red Arrow, Speedy, whatever he's called in that, at some point, and have all three of them together. So, but yeah, I really like the head sculpt. Like I said, he's got a nice square jaw. He's got really good facial features that I feel like show off his blended ethnicity. I think that works really well. The hair looks really cool. It's got kind of that flat top, and it's got some texture to it. And I think that he just looks great. This is a really impressive figure. And it really makes me wish that or hope that they actually get around to it. But I really would like to see the classic Neil Adams look for Green Arrow coming out of Mcfarlane before the Mcfarlane line comes to an end. You got like a year left, so maybe you can manage to squeeze one out. But otherwise, I'm going to see if I can pick up one of these, hopefully for cheap. Hopefully, I'll be able to catch them on clearance, and because I think I could probably make this into a pretty good Bronze Age style classic Neil Adams Green Arrow. I think that would look really sweet. I'm gonna put the quiver back on him now since I'm done talking about the articulation, and go ahead and get ready to go do my my thumbnail for it. You know, one thing that I liked about his quiver on the Total Justice figure, and I don't remember if it was like this in the comics at all, but it was almost kind of like a double quiver. So I thought that was really cool. But this one's just kind of a single quiver. It still looks good, and it's about much thicker quiver. It does kind of remind me of the quiver that the Bronze Age, the Neil Adams one had. But anyway, that's pretty much it for Connor Hawke. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this figure and the character of Connor Hawke in general. Are you a fan of Connor Hawke? You know, I know like some people at the time, even not everyone, but a few people I talked to really liked this character and even preferred him over Oliver. Now, I couldn't possibly prefer him over Oliver because I love Oliver so much, but that doesn't mean that I thought Connor was a bad character at all. And I'm glad that he still gets some love to this day. But maybe you were one of the readers who actually did really take to this character and did prefer him over Oliver Queen. So if you were one of those readers, please let me know that in the comments. I'd be interested in your thoughts and opinions on the characters, and if you still feel that way to this very day. You know, looking at this one, you can see how like they didn't really they had like this whole jerkin is like a rubber piece, and they didn't break up the strap on this one. So it kind of makes me think if maybe they should have done that with like the brown tabard area, made that all like one separate piece and not had it molded onto the abs. and that might have been a way to, or just have the straps even be a separate piece. I think that might have been fine. It's still a great figure. It's just I kind of wish the straps had worked a little bit better. Anyway, that's it for this one. I don't know which one I'm going to do next. We still got this Lex Luthor in the power suit to open up. We still got this guy, Year 2 Batman. So I got to open that one up. We got Owlman. We got the rest of the Crime Syndicate figures I got. So I got Owlman. I've got hey, there's Max Games and Toys. You showed up just at the very end. So sorry. but yeah, I think what I'll do for the rest of this week, not the rest of this week necessarily, but at least for the next 3 days, is I do have Owlman back there that needs to be opened. And I have the 2-pack of Superman versus Ultraman, Superman of Earth 3, as it says on the package. And I have Power Ring. I have the yeah, I'm afraid so. I'm afraid we're just wrapping it up right now. But you can always go back and watch the replay and see what I had to say about this figure if you're so inclined. But yeah. Oh, and I will have more Masters of the Universe on the way, because I do have I still got the King Randor figure to open up, and I've got some things coming from Big Bad Toy Store, including I finally have the Franklin Jella Skeletor figure that I've wanted to acquire for the longest time. Finally, they got those back in stock, and I was able to get one, and I got one waiting for me in my pile of loot. So we'll have that on the way. I've got the Hurricane Hordak figure that needs to be opened up. So I will have more Masters of the Universe coming up soon. Probably whenever I wind up getting my my pile of loot. Which I'm still waiting on that Kingdom Come Superman. That's the thing that's holding it up, is that Kingdom Come Superman. So, but yeah, I think I'll do Crime Syndicate next. If I don't start on Crime Syndicate in the next episode, it's going to be because I did finally get that Shazam 2-pack with the movie versions of Captain Marvel and Captain Marvel Jr., or as they're called in that 2-pack, Shazam and Freddie Freeman. But mainly I got that because I wanted the Captain Marvel Jr. figure. I don't really need an extra Shazam, but the one in there is the one with like the stains on his costume. But man, we keep getting more viewers, and I'm at the end of the stream. Unfortunately, Brandon Peacock is here. Welcome. Unfortunately, I'm just wrapping it up. But I'm always glad to see people, so that's nice. I'm always glad to see people in the chat. But yeah, I think maybe I'll do that next. I think I'll do the Shazam 2-pack next, and that'll be what I do as the Tuesday episode. And then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I'll work on Crime Syndicate, because I've got, are they over here? They're not over here. So yeah, I've got the 2-pack with Superman versus Ultraman. And I've got the Power Ring, the Earth 3 version of Solomon Baz. He's not Simon Baz. It's his brother who becomes Power Ring in that universe. Max Games and Toys says, I'm collecting Mcfarlane Batman animated. Those are really impressive figures. Unfortunately, I think I've missed out on too many of those to really get into it at this point. But those are really impressive figures. I do really like those. So maybe one day when I'm rich, I can go back and buy those, and that'll be nice. Obviously, I'm a huge Batman fan. You know, he's like my #1 favorite character. So there's a reason that this is mostly Batman action figures back here on my wall, and a couple of Flash Gordon. So a Flash Gordon too. So anyway, that's it for Connor Hawke. I hope you enjoyed the episode. We'll be back on the next episode, and we'll be talking about Shazam: Fury of the Gods with Shazam and Freddie Freeman. So hope you enjoyed the episode. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.